What is up, guys? It is Anime Casuals. I am Lucky.
I'm Johnny.
And I'm Michael.
And we make up Anime Casuals. So, today we're going to be talking about our favorite male protagonists. Eventually we'll do favorite female protagonists. I actually have one in mind already. We'll say that for another video. So we're just going to get straight into it. Johnny, who did you pick for this week?
For this week, my protagonist that I chose is Leonardo Watch. He is from the anime Blood Blockade Battlefront. Glad I didn't mix that up. I usually do.
Star Wars Battlefront. I got you.
Exactly, that's it. And I chose him. I mean, I had a lot of choices going on. I mean, obviously it would have been easy to choose like Luffy from One Piece or something like that, Goku. But I chose Leonardo Watch because specifically, he's a pretty normal guy. With, one exception, which are his eyes. And I'm not going to go into it too deep, but they're the all-seeing eyes of the gods, which is kind of crazy. I don't know, that seems kind of like in-depth.
That's pretty insane, yeah. That's pretty insane.
And I think the biggest thing I liked about Leonardo Watch was the anime really kind of focuses on he's a normal person in this crazy world where worlds have literally collided to form kind of just chaos and mayhem all the time. And he's just this normal guy trying to get through that and do what he thinks is right versus what he has to do. And so that's what's kind of cool about Leonardo Watch. Because there's even a few parts in the anime where they address that. And all these things that you do, they seem kind of extraordinary to you, but they're actually very normal. And they're all just kind of really just simple things. It's not like, oh, you have superpowers. It's, you're kind, you're caring, you care about your friends. And he's always able to keep a smile, and I envy that about him. It's all the things he goes through, and I just kind of like that, and I decided to pick him because he's a little bit off the beaten path in a way of your typical protagonist.
Yeah,
Leonardo Watch.
Yeah, and also he's kind of in one of the weirdest situations you'll ever see because he technically is in the real in a real place. But that goes through a crazy event that happens that kind of sets the pace for the rest of the thing. But if you were a regular human and you had to deal with that stuff, and yet the eye thing really didn't happen until that event. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't like he's always had this. That's
a good point. I should have mentioned that. But
well, he doesn't always had this. So this is a guy that literally had to adapt to a crazy situation. You guys should definitely watch it if you have not. Yeah. We're gonna try and keep this somewhat spoiler free, but in order to get into some of our protagonists, we kind of have to get into it, especially with mine. But
a little bit.
Yeah. Anything else to say on that, Johnny? Or
no, I think I'm good right there.
I was gonna say I really like real quick like the way he adapts. Is generally it's just New York. One of us is moving to New York. That's all I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
New York's a pretty crazy place. Everything's fast moving. That's an adaptation in itself. But then you throw insaneness of multi-dimensional reality craziness and crazy eyes. It's man, you got a lot to deal with, and he's like you said, he's a cheerful dude, all the time. Man, you're keeping us happy.
Yeah, he keeps getting beaten down, too.
And on the reverse side, I decided to pick Lelouch v. Britannia. Also another dude with eye powers, strangely enough. And, while Lelouch, he comes...
Just put it in there, this is from Code Geass, by the way.
That's about what I was going to say. Lelouch is from Code Geass.
Probably Levins out there.
Actually introduced to me by for all you
extroverts out there that are spending way too much time outside.
Get back inside and watch anime right now, casually.
Weirdly enough, I was introduced to Code Geass from my neighbor right here, Johnny, and to touch on the anime slightly, it's really about the European War, but the two sides are America, of course, and basically everybody else, and Britannia is trying to take over the world. So then you come back and you star this main character, which again we're not going to do too much spoilers, but the reason why I like him is he has to deal with morality constantly. His eye power, not the all-seeing eyes of God over here, but
pretty crazy.
He is gifted his eye by some kind of creature called V2, and his eye gives him the ability to anybody, he can command them once and one time only to do whatever he tells them to do, and they must follow it to the T, to the letter.
They're compelled.
Yeah, they're compelled automatically. It's kind of like mind control, but like a little differently. He's like, he hacks their brain to tell them to do what he wants.
Mind over
and to give you a quick spoiler for the first episode, it starts off with him getting the eye and then like killing like 15 people because they're about to kill him, and then that was like really intense. But what I like about him is that he constantly has to balance, as war times do, what is the right call to make and how many people can you sacrifice for this idea. He's a really intense character because he portrays himself as like the rebellion leader like the entire time. Many times he's using his eye in really interesting ways to try to turn the tides of war, because nobody's expecting this guy with a magical eye to come around just like, I'm going to tell each one of these guards what to do, and then I'm going to go, kill your leader. It's like, okay.
This is in the Naruto universe where everybody has weird eyes. Or
exactly. He's like the only person with this crazy ability. And, the anime also has, like, mechs and, craziness, but...
Which I didn't know at first, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's like...
you guys were showing me some of it. I was like, I thought this was just about some guy with crazy eyes. What's going on here?
Yeah, and that's like the thing. I mean...
When did this turn into Gundam? Get out
But it's not about, anime. This is about my favorite character. Yeah. And, that, like, a couple points, hopefully not too spoilers, he comes across as, like, there's a character he has to deal with that he accidentally uses his eye upon. And so he has to then go back on his own morality. He's been going through, like... the enemy, like, constantly just killing leader after leader, whether they're related to him or not. And then finally he comes to a situation where, he really likes this person and he accidentally uses his eye. And he's like, oh my god, what the hell am I going to do? And he, it ends up pretty worse for the wear. I mean, he does not really come over it, and it kind of crushes him. And he has to rebuild himself after it, going, is my power actually good, or is it bad? Like, is the way I'm doing it wrong? And generally has to deal with, all this kind of, like, real dark stuff during the anime, which I like seeing that in anime and seeing a character kind of overcome things, because he also does another one against one of his friends, and he's just constantly kind of dealing with the pros and cons of basically having dominant control over everybody. He's a huge strategist, which I love. Like, I always love characters who are, like, really big on, yeah, you thought that's what I was going to do, but I actually manipulated everything around you to do exactly what I want. Like, there's some amazing moments where Lelouch like, you're like, what is he going to do? And then, shit just starts going off, and you're like, whoa! Like, 25 people come controlled by his eye and just, like, do something crazy, and you're like, I didn't even expect that! That's insane!
Yeah.
Like, small little tidbit. There's one part where he tries out the power, because he's constantly doing that to figure out the limits and bounds of his power. And he just tells a girl, he's like, make a mark on this wall every day at 2 o'clock. And that's all he does. He just tells her. And that lasts for like 4 months, and that's insane. Like, he just does all these little things. So he's like so intelligent, but he's also a great person to hate if you really, like seeing main protagonist kind of like both evil and parts good at the same time, so you have stuff to like and stuff to really hate about the character.
For the greater good.
Yeah, he's totally for greater good, and like,
his good.
Really, you can kind of like compare yourself against them and be like, would you do the same thing in his shoes? Would you sacrifice like this whole side for this, for these other people? And like you guys started with like the 11s. What the anime touches on is a lot of racism or, elitism, saying that your people are way worse than my people. And, like, he touches on that, and, like, his reasons for, like, caring about the 11s isn't quite that he actually cares about the 11s, but it's more like he thinks that the people at the top are horrible people and should be taken down. And I think that's...
New World Order.
Yeah, I really dig characters who don't have too many qualms about, I need to kill you. Oh, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. It's like, well, yeah, exactly. What are you going to do to get to your goals if you think all this stuff is wrong? And he's like, I'm basically going to do anything to get what I want.
Yeah.
Bar, betraying all his allies or something crazy. Like, he's manipulating everybody. And that's, I think, one of the biggest reasons why Lelouch is so cool, and one of my favorite characters that really interesting. He suffers a lot, which kind of helps to outweigh his really negatives because he's sometimes a huge dick and doesn't really care about a lot of people, but he grows throughout the entire series and really becomes a pretty intense dude by the end. So that's why Lelouch v. Britannia is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, so one thing that you both of your guys have in common is they have this crazy power that they have to deal with because humans, like throughout history, whenever they get power, guess what happens? They usually end up trying to use it. And they're trying to figure out what... So, if I'm using this for the greater good, that kind of thing. Whereas Leonardo really tries not to use his powers as much as possible. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how he is. Lelouch uses it, but he also has this kind of end goal. I have to use this, or else I'm not going to be able to do what I think needs to be done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is where I bring that up because this is kind of comes to a contrast with my character, Guts from Berserk. One of the most intense protagonists I've ever seen. I won't go too much into his backstory. It's very, very intense. But basically, Berserk is cut into like 2 parts. They cut it. I won't go through the arc names or anything, but just his arc of before some crazy crap happens, and then after that crazy crap happens. And Berserk and Guts in himself, he had a very traumatic childhood. Actually, I'm gonna give some of his story just a little bit away. Is that he was born to what you would call like a prostitute or a whore. That I think that was actually the word that they used in it for a traveling bandit group or mercenary group, and she ended up getting hung. And when she was hung, she gave birth to Guts. So, and it just everything from an abusive father, the person who takes care of him, Domino. Guts really gets thrust into a situation where he is just like everybody else. It's like, I just gotta keep going, and just to give you a little bit of what happens after the crazy shit happens. Basically, demons are introduced. Demons are introduced, and this is a regular guy still. We have to remember that this is still a regular guy. Now he has some anime tropes in it where he's got a humongous sword. Not everybody will be able to do that. But also, he's been a mercenary for most of his life. He has incredible battle sense, and actually really good in terms of strategy. He's not afraid to put his body on the line to get you that. If he thinks that you chopping, one instance in particular, he fights this humongous creature that's flying, right? So in order to stop it, he lets it. I think it was like a horn or something like that. He lets it stab a horn straight through his mouth. He bites onto the, and he starts cutting the shit out of that thing. Now that kind of, that's where you're like, oh, this is such a cool character. But it's also, he has to give that up because most of what he's fighting is way stronger than him. And that's what I like about it is that it's like he never gives up, and even some of the characters around him are just like, I can't believe this guy's not giving up. Because not everybody knows about the crazy demon things because most of it's kept under wraps, or anybody that's seen the demons get killed real fast. Yep. And so, you have this character that's just constantly fighting against something that everybody believes in. And, becoming from religion, being a religious person, I also see there can be some, we're humans. So if we can take anything and make it wrong. And that's what these guys do real bad. Yeah, they do. they use religion as this kind of this means to an end, in terms of like using it to dominate people. And there's one character in there in particular that does some harsh stuff to people in the name of God. And here comes Guts, and he lived before any of this crazy shit happened, so he's seen it, and he already knows if you're dealing with this kind of power, I'm gonna take you out. Yeah. Or if you end up in my way, I'm going to take you out. And that's what I really love about Guts. Is he's a extraordinary human. Okay. Yeah. But he also realizes, okay, I'm probably gonna get my ass kicked by this person. But how can I get the least amount of my ass kicked before I kill him? And that's really something interesting because you see a lot of these characters, just typical traits like Dragon Ball Z or something like that. All of a sudden they get a new form, and then all of a sudden they just whoop this guy's ass. Yeah. It's not like that with Guts. It's really just like, oh, I have this humongous gash in my mouth, or oh, I have a cut on my side because I let somebody do something, so I get something out of it. And that's really a big thing with Guts is like he just doesn't give up, man. And against all freaking odds, everybody believes. Everybody kind of has the same religious beliefs because it's the
status quo.
Yeah, status quo, and it's set by the highest people in power right now.
So messed up.
But he continues just to go against it, no matter how much these there's a priest that just. Is like, no, we have to go in and repent for our sins. Whereas Guts is like, no, we gotta fight these things. These are trolls. These are trolls coming to your village. We need to kill these things. No. If we go against God, if we go against God, we do. And it's literally like these people that can't get out of the bubble. And Guts is literally just this guy that doesn't want to get anybody out of the bubble. He has one plan, and that's vengeance. And you'll see why in the very beginning of it, why he wants to get vengeance against a particular character.
Yeah.
But he just wants this thing. But in, just kind of coincidentally, he also ends up opening up a couple of these people's eyes, and that's how he ends up getting his crew together eventually. It's not even people he asked to be there. It's just like, they're just like, wow, this guy is right. Like, we probably should do something about this. We probably, instead of maybe just praying or just saying like, oh yeah, we shouldn't go against this because this is probably an omen from God or anything like that. Well, no, they could just be trolls trying to kill you, man.
Maybe maybe we're just gonna die.
Exactly, and so that's really why I chose Guts, and that he was actually the one that inspired this list, and inspired us to kind of go into it. But
I have a question for you guys to finish this off.
Yeah,
just quick question. What other characters are up there for you, pretty close to your favorite characters? Because while thinking about this, before our videos, we usually have deep thoughts. Going, oh my God, there's so many characters we have to pick from, and I'll say a couple of mine to give you guys a couple, couple of things. I'm not going to expand on them, just saying them out. Just to get them out there.
Yeah.
A couple of my favorites, that he was talking about, Luffy, like Deku from My Hero is one of mine. But one of my close favorites was Fascist Stampede from Trigun. So I was very close to picking him, but Lelouch always takes my heart because he's so cool.
Yeah, man.
You guys?
Same voice actor, it's all good. That Johnny Young Bosch is all you got. What do you think, Johnny?
That's the thing. I had a couple because me and him we had a long talk, over the weekend on our drive. But I came down to a couple. I actually kind of liked. Neither guys you've seen this one, but Devilman Crybaby.
Okay, well I saw a little bit of it, but not very much. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That character, I realized actually talking with him, like that he goes through some crazy stuff. It was way deeper than I realized.
Just from the first episode, I saw some crazy shit.
So there's that one. I like Shiro Emiya from Ultimate Blade Works. He's another good one. And my other one I was tied for was Mob Psycho. Because they all have really great kind of internal struggles that they have to deal with and kind of decisions they want to make. And
Fascist has to deal with a lot. Yeah, that's why I was like, it's like the same thing as Guts.
Exactly. Well, I kind of went into the same thought process. I remember we were talking about this last night, and I had mentioned Ippo from Hajime no Ippo, a boxing anime. Kind of goes from like the bottom to like where he is eventually in the anime as as a decorated boxer in a certain sense. Not to give too much away, but I've always liked it. The only problem that I had with this is not always not always does a protagonist just grab me. It's just sometimes a lot of times it's the characters around them that are like, hey man, like they'll tell the protagonist like you're being too this, you're being too that.
Yeah.
Basically
Jinbei.
Yeah. Basically you're being too much of a protagonist, right? Like you need you're human. You're freaking human.
You can be just a human.
Yeah, and so I've always liked some of the in Rurouni Kenshin. Kenshin isn't actually my favorite person. It's actually Hajime Saito, who's one of his rivals, and probably he starts off as an antagonist, but it's just like he's just like, hey man, we gotta do what you gotta do. So I've always liked those kind of characters, but Ippo is definitely up there because I just spend so much time with him and just watching his progression. So
I actually weirdly, I don't know why, probably just because it's a fighting anime. I thought you were gonna choose what is it? Shinji the Mightiest Disciple?
Oh man,
the Mightiest Disciple,
Kenichi.
Okay,
I like Kenichi and everything.
Because I've heard you talk about him a couple times.
Yeah, I just got really pumped. I really got pumped with his progress and everything. I'll just say I got more inspired by his masters. I haven't. He hasn't. It just hasn't gotten to the part in the anime where it's like, oh, this is you know, he's definitely gotten better in terms of skill, in terms of this, but I really wanted to see, you know, like one of those time skip moments where it's like, oh, you know, this is my growth. This is my, you know, this guy's, and it just hasn't gotten there. At least not in the anime. So yeah, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're Anime Casuals, and we'll be trying to release stuff more regularly from now on. It's just kind of went through kind of we went through time skip. So
hey, we're older now.
We went through the time skip casually. Keep it casual, guys.